Hello, hi, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if it's your first time here. My name is Jim. We talk about, listen to and do all sorts of things music-y. And today we have been listening to the seminal record from Mike Oldfield, Tubular Bells. Came out on Virgin Records. I believe this is their very first release. Incredible record. Absolutely incredible. It sounds like nothing else, really. It's extraordinary. I think I mentioned this on one of the earlier videos when I was listening to this. How did Mike Oldfield convince Richard Branson that he was the artist to record, to put onto his label? Because how do you demo this? I mean, many bands, you can do a demo by recording a session, you know, playing live, all that sort of thing. Mike Oldfield was by his lonesome, and you can't just sort of rock up to Richard Branson's with a guitar and strum along to Tubular Bells. It's not that piece of music. I can only imagine that he had access to a studio himself and was able to do like a rough and ready studio mashup of what he was hoping to achieve, or he had manuscript, wrote it down, sort of sheet music. But I can't imagine that Richard Branson reads sheet music. So I don't know. I just don't know, because in order to create this, you've got to have a studio. You've got to be multi-tracking. You've got to have hundreds of hours of tape. You've got to remember, back in the 1970s, that to record was expensive. Tape was expensive. I know nowadays when you're using memory on a computer, it's so cheap that it doesn't matter if you make mistakes, and you can sort of take as long as you like to build things up and put them together. But in the early 1970s, it was a huge operation and undertaking, because there was physical media that was very expensive. There was the time that it took to record in a studio. There was the fees and wages of staff that had to be met, you know, producers, engineers, runners, and not to mention session musicians that would obviously come in and be part of this. Now, I say session musicians. There's not many on here. It is an entire 95% of this is by Mike Oldfield himself, be that guitars or mandolins, basses, percussion, keyboards, organs, pianos. But it's astonishing, his accomplishment of being able to master all these different instruments and play them convincingly and play them well. We had a few other instruments which were played by other people. So it was upright bass. We had flutes, drums on side 2. There was a couple of choirs in there, and also Vivian Stanshall, who was the master of ceremonies, introducing all the different parts towards the end of side 1. So not a huge collection of musicians, considering the amount of music that is laid down on here. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. I don't know whether the producers of The Exorcist came to this, or Mike Oldfield and Richard Branson went to The Exorcist themselves and said, you want this music. But either way, what a stroke of genius that was to license this music to that film, which became such a sort of cultural phenomenon. Everybody who watched that knows the music. Everybody who hasn't watched it knows that music. You know, it's synonymous with that film, in the same way that the theme to Jaws is, or to Star Wars. It's kind of one of those things that everybody knows. And it probably had the effect of two things. It would have propelled this further into the sort of public realm and get people to sort of talk about it and buy it. But also it would provided a much needed income stream, I imagine, to Virgin and to Mike Oldfield. It sold very, very well, and I imagine that a lot of people would be critical listeners, sort of like this, sitting here with headphones or with expensive, or not expensive, but with stereo systems, and listening to it and enjoying the music for what it was. But I reckon there's a lot of people bought it probably because of maybe the hype, and also thinking, oh, it's a record to have which works well for dinner parties or to having as a background music when you have people over, because it would work very well for that. It's very inobtrusive. That's the word, isn't it? Not ambient music as such, but working with the ambience of the room and sort of just sort of easing conversation. This is a really, really, really good record. It's taken me a long time to get around to listening to it. This is the first time I've ever listened to this in its entirety. I knew the Exorcist theme at the beginning. Who doesn't? But that was about it, really. And so the rest of this was a real deep dive into the music of this 19-year-old kid, Mike Oldfield. And it's still incredible to me that he was so young and still was bristling with all these ideas that he needed to lay down. And it obviously sort of kickstarted his career. And he's done very well out of it, hasn't he? So, yes, absolutely fantastic record. Would I listen to it again? Absolutely. Will I listen to it again soon? I don't know. I think it's a mood record. I think you need to listen to it when you're in the right mood for it. There's a lot of rhythm in it, but there's not a lot of driving rhythm. So there's drums in it and the bit of side two, but beyond that, it's not. So it's not something you need when you're going to go running or to sort of keep you motivated or interested in that way. It's not a rocking record at all. But it's a very, very interesting listen. It's probably very, very good music to listen to when you're trying to do something. You're trying to achieve, trying to create, trying to write, maybe. I don't think it's music that's going to sort of take over your brain and sort of and distract you too much. It's a easy listening. It's a horrible word to say, but it is an easy record to listen to when you're doing other stuff. And I like it very, very much indeed. Thank you so much for voting for this. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next video, whenever and whatever that is. And until then, this is Jim, over and out.